stretches today. We're going to stretch the whole body, but if anyone has any part of their body that they feel is particularly sore or tight, if it's your hips or your ankles, your knees, you could always kind of put a little message into the chat and let me know. But we're pretty much going to do the full body anyways. But okay, guys, let's get started. Hopefully you can see me. We're going to start with just a basic stretch. We're going to get into sort of like a straddle position. So you want to get those legs as wide as you can possibly get them. Okay, and today we're going to sort of focus on a little bit more mobility than flexibility. So last week we sort of did a little bit of both. Today we're going to start moving in and out of our stretches. So what we want to do is we want to get nice and tall through this stretch. We don't want to let ourselves slouch. So I want you to think of that logo on your shirt. Make sure that's nice and proud. And then we're just going to start to crawl those fingers forward a little bit, getting a good stretch into our back of the legs, groin a little bit. Just going to see if we can kind of ease our way into a good stretch here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put my camera down a little bit so you guys will be able to see a little bit more of me. There we go. Okay. So we're here nice and tall through that stretch, and we just want to sort of focus on our breathing. So when we're sort of doing stretching or mobility, something that's, especially with any kind of workout, you want to make sure that you're breathing, focusing on that breath. Okay, we want to try to relax into that stretch. So what I want you to do is you're going to kind of lift those hands. You're going to come up as tall as you can, and you're just going to kind of put either your hands on your stomach or you can go hands on your hips. And I want to kind of really think about big belly breaths. So when you kind of take a big breath in, really feel like your stomach is inhaling and expanding, your ribs expand, and then just like you're sort of blowing up a balloon on that exhale. Okay, let's do a couple breaths like that. So big breath in. Big exhale. Good. And then the trick with stretching is every time you kind of take that exhale, you want to sort of get deeper into the stretch if you can. So let's come back into that stretch. Get yourself sort of to the end of your maximum range. Okay, and we're going to focus on that deep belly breathing here. So big breath in. Fill the belly with air, and then sort of feel your body kind of soften into that stretch. Okay, a couple more breaths here. Big breath in. Maybe you're slowly crawling those fingers forward as you exhale. So we want to sort of get a good recovery session today. I know some of you are a little bit sore from the workouts, which is good, but we want to sort of recover now. So we're going to start to crawl those fingers towards our right leg. Okay, so I got one on one side, one on the other. Now, if you can, grab those toes with that right hand. If you can't quite get those toes, you're going to kind of grab your shin or grab your knee as far as you can reach. And we're going to come up and over with that other hand. And again, we're focusing on that breathing. You can even close your eyes here. Really focus on loosening up that hamstring on the right side. Stretching through those ribs. Good, making sure we're still sitting nice and tall. Imagine there's a little string kind of pulling your top of your head up to the ceiling. Our spine is nice and long. We're going to go 2 more big breaths here. Good, one more time. Good, we're going to crawl those fingertips. We're still kind of in that stretch. We're going to crawl towards that left leg now. Okay, same idea. Want to sit nice and tall. If you can, grab that foot or grab that shin. Reaching up and over with that right arm, and we want to sort of get right into those ribs. So big breath in here. Use that breath. Kind of get a little bit deeper into that stretch. Good, nice job, guys. We're sort of starting from a good stretch, and as we start to exhale, we're getting longer and longer and longer. Just moving with that breath. Good. We're going to slowly come out of that stretch. Okay, our legs are going to feel like they're pretty stretched out, so just be careful bringing them in. What we're going to do is we're going to make our way onto our hands and knees. So this is called a cat-camel mobility. So it's for our spine, for our back. If you've done yoga before, you'll probably recognize this one. We're going to get into those wrists as well here, Kaylee. So what we want to do is we want to think of really kind of pushing our hands onto the floor, and we want our hands to be as big as we can. So we don't just want to put our hands down, we want to spread those fingers as wide as you can. We're going to get that back nice and flat. And then from here, what we want to do is move with the breath. So we're going to start with an inhale. And as we're doing that, we're tucking the tailbone and pressing our back up to the ceiling, just like a cat would, as high as you can go, rounding that back. And then as we exhale, we're doing the opposite. So we're untucking that tailbone, dropping our ribs, and sort of extending that back. So we're just going to move through that nice and slow here with that breath. So inhaling, pushing that floor away, getting a good stretch into that back, and then we're going to exhale, pulling those shoulder blades down our back. Good. Inhale, tuck that tailbone, start to arch that back. Exhale. Good. Okay, I'm just going to turn for the camera. You guys are going to stay where you are, but rather than having our hands here, we're actually going to flip our hands so that our fingers are kind of pointed towards our knees. Okay, and this is going to get a little bit of a stretch into the forearms and wrists. So again, what we want to really focus on is really spreading our fingers as big as we can or as wide as we can. And we're going to start to slowly sit our bum back towards our heels and just getting a gentle stretch through those forearms and wrists. Okay, and you don't want to push it too much. It's just a very, very small movement here. We're just sort of getting into the wrists, and we're going to hang out here for a few breaths. Okay, so again, we want to breathe in through our nose. Fill the belly and ribs with air, and then as we exhale, try to deepen a little bit more into that stretch. Maybe you sit back. Big breath in. Exhale, try to relax and deepen that stretch. Good. So we should feel like we're in a pretty good stretch here. And what we're going to do is we're going to start to put pressure through our fingertips. So I want you to think of pressing your fingers into the floor, just gently, not very hard. And we're going to do that for 10 seconds. So here we go. So I'm pressing my fingers down for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We're just going to relax everything, and then maybe we sit back a little bit more. Okay, we got a good stretch into those forearms. Okay, we're going to slowly come out of that stretch now. And then what we're going to do is we're just going to make circles with our wrists. Okay, so not too much. We just want to start to move those wrists around. We should have a pretty good stretch through here. Okay, and just moving those wrists, we're going to go circles and then reverse those circles. Good. Awesome. Okay. Now, if anyone's got a foam roller, we're going to do some foam rolling like we did last time. So I've got a short foam roller. If you've got a short one or a long one, we'll grab that. If you don't have, perfect, that looks great. If you don't have a foam roller, what you can use is sort of like a tennis ball or a lacrosse ball. I've got a couple options here. So I've got like a baseball. I've got a smaller one. So I want you to kind of see what you can find, something that you can kind of roll. We're going to do like a self massage with these. So give you guys a few seconds to sort of find what you've got available. Okay, so I'm going to show the two options. I'm going to do, if you've got your baseball, lacrosse ball, the muscle that we want to roll is just right in between that shoulder and the chest. So a lot of times our chest gets really sore. So right in kind of where that shoulder meets, that's where that ball is going to go. Okay, and we're going to be laying on the floor. And we want to just sort of start to circle right into that spot. Okay. And we want to just sort of move back and forth, sort of releasing that muscle. If you guys have done, a bunch of push-ups, that's sort of that muscle that you're going to feel is a little bit tight. So we're just going to kind of roll around a little bit. Just sort of feel like it's loosening up. And then what you're going to do when you find this middle of that spot, you're just going to kind of alternate there. And you're going to hold that ball, putting as much pressure as you're comfortable on it. And we're going to lift that arm, and we're just going to go back and forth with that arm while we sort of have that pressure down on that muscle. Okay, we're just going nice and slow, making sure that we're breathing here. Good. And really sort of start to feel, it's almost like you're kind of doing a swimming stroke, but feel like as you're reaching back, the back of the hand sort of goes towards that low back. And then the palm comes right back to the floor. We're just sort of loosening up that shoulder a little bit here. Good. Okay, we're going to go one more time. Good. And now we're going to switch sides. So I'm just going to turn for the camera. So again, you want that ball to just sort of be right in the top of that chest muscle. And we're just going to sort of find that spot where you feel like it's pretty tight. Good. And then once you've got that, we're going to do that same motion with your arm. So just bringing it back and forth. The palm sort of comes up to the ceiling. And just sort of releasing that muscle tension here. Good. Nice job, guys. And sometimes that ball slides around. So what I'll do is just hold it with my hand so it's not moving too much. Awesome. Okay. Now what we're going to do is we're going to do the back of the shoulder. So I'm going to use that same ball. And what you want to do is you want to sort of put it right underneath of your shoulder blade. So if I sort of turn around for the camera, you want that ball to be right kind of beneath the shoulder blade, but you don't want it to be on your spine. So got to kind of put on that muscle. So we're going to be laying on our back here. And if you've got a bigger baseball, it's a little bit easier. And you just want to sort of roll around, give yourself a little bit of massage right around that shoulder blade. And if you feel there's a certain area that's a little bit more sore, a little bit tighter, we're just going to sort of play around there for a little bit. Give yourself a good massage. And then when you find that spot that's a little bit sore that you need to release, that's where we're going to hold that ball. And then all I'm going to do with my right arm, I've got it on my right side, I'm just going to come up and down, just nice and easy, making sure we're sort of breathing with that. So exhaling as I lift, inhaling as I come right back down. You can always kind of move it around a little bit. So if you need to get another spot, sort of right on that right shoulder blade, and you don't want it to be painful, but it's just like a good massage, sort of like a good just moving that shoulder nice and slow. Nice, looks great, guys. So now we're gonna flip over to the other side, or switch over to the other side. So now I'm sort of under my left shoulder blade. I'm just finding that spot again. And once you've got it, we're just going back and forth. If you find your neck's a little tight, you can always use your hand to kind of support it, just to give your neck a little bit of support there. And I'm just sort of reaching back. Making sure we're breathing here. Again, maybe we find a second spot where it's tight. Maybe you're a little bit lower down, maybe you're higher, whatever you need to release there. You'll feel it when you know. Nice, looks good, guys. And we'll pick a third spot, the last one. Maybe you move it a little bit up or a little bit down, whatever you need. Just letting that arm. Okay. Okay, guys, the next one we're going to do is we're going to get into sort of the feet. So we're going to use that same ball, and we want to sort of massage the bottom of our foot, like sort of like our arch of our foot. So if I've got that camera here, I want you to think of that arch of your foot. That's where you want that ball to be. So we're just going to sort of gently kind of go onto that ball, and we're just going to kind of roll back and forth. Maybe you're kind of massaging that bottom of the foot a little bit. We want to sort of get that tension out of the arch. And if you've ever had, plantar fasciitis, where you really feel that pain on the bottom of your foot, this is a good one to do. A lot of times we kind of forget about the feet. And this will feel pretty good once we release all that tension. What I want you to do is I want you to go right in the middle of that foot. And then all we're going to do with those toes is we're going to pull the toes up and point those toes down. Okay, we're just going to go up and down with those toes. This might feel a little bit weird if you haven't done this before. All we're doing is just releasing that bottom of our arch. Just nice and slow. Flexing and extending those toes, and then we're going to roll right back over it. Good, nice job, guys. Let's flip to the other foot. So same thing, we're just going to sort of get into that arch. Just kind of play around a little bit, find those tight spots. And when you're in that right spot, you'll know we're just flexing and extending those toes. Nice and slow. You guys are getting to see my beautiful Puma socks today. Good. And just really kind of getting, if you want a little more pressure, you can press down harder. Or if you're good with balance, you can kind of bring those hands onto your leg and you sort of press down a little bit, and that will get even more pressure. Again, we want to just focus on those toes up and down. And then maybe roll over again, find a second spot. Maybe you go a little bit higher, flex and extend those toes. Awesome. Okay. Now this is an option. If you've got a foam roller, you can use that. Or if you don't, you can keep using that lacrosse ball or baseball, whatever you've got. I'm going to move on to my roller, and we're going to get into our calves. So the back of the legs, if you've done a lot of running or anything like that, or a lot of kind of jumping, that would be pretty tight. So all I'm going to do is just sort of roll back and forth, and I want to lift most of my weight off of the floor. So I'll go to the side so you can see here. I'm kind of lifting my bum off the floor, and I'm just kind of going back and forth along that calf. And if you're with a foam roller and that feels good, or if you've just got that soft ball, the same idea, just going right along the edge of that calf, sort of feeling where it's tightest. And then again, what we want to do is we want to find the middle of that muscle where you feel like it's the most tense. You're going to press down, and we're just going to flex and extend that ankle now. We want to have that ball or roller pressing down, or leg pressing down into it while we're releasing. Good. And then same idea, we're going to roll up and down again. We're going to find a second spot, maybe below or above where you just were. It's nice and slow, flexing and extending that ankle. Good. And then our third final spot, maybe you go a little bit lower, a little bit higher, wherever you feel like you need to get into. And if you're in the right spot, you'll know it's a little bit more tender. For me, this is a little painful right now. If you're feeling, just make sure you're kind of breathing into it. Good. Okay, let's get that other side. So again, I'm going to show with the roller. If you've got the roller, whatever what works better for you. Just sort of rolling up and down. Good. Find that first spot where it's quite tight, and then we're just going to press down and extend and flex that ankle. If you can too, we're flexing those toes and extending the toes with that ankle. Sort of getting movement into every joint here. Good. Roll up and down. We're going to find that second spot. Same thing, going up and down with that ankle. Good. And then last one, our final spot. Flex and extend, really trying to point the toes. Good. Awesome. Good job, guys. Okay. Trying to see that everyone sort of has, yeah, we got most of our equipment. Okay, guys, looking good. We're going to come onto our back. So let's set that roller aside. Or sorry, we're going to come into our 90-90. So if you remember last week, this is sort of our 90-90 position here where we're kind of sitting on our right bum cheek. I've got my hand over onto the side, and I want to make sure that I've got a good amount of space behind my knee. So I don't want to be crouched in like that. I want to get good 90-degree angle here. I want lots of space. Okay. And then from here, I want to sit up nice and tall. So thinking of keeping my core nice and tight. Just going to make sure that Ritu gets in here. There we go. Okay. So nice and tall here. I want to make sure that our core is engaged. So we don't just want to slouch. We want to sit tall, keeping that core tight. We're going to turn our body to that front knee. And again, just keeping my back nice and straight. I'm coming forward. We just want to sort of find a bit of a stretch here. So you should feel it into that right hip. Okay. Staying nice and long. And we want to sort of find that breath. So here, I've got my belly sort of right against my leg. So I want to take a big breath in and fill my belly and sides and low back with air. And then exhale. If we can get that deep breathing going, it's going to help our stretch to get even deeper. Sort of relax into it. Good. And again, guys, if we can, every time you exhale, you're sort of going maybe another centimeter deeper into that stretch. It doesn't have to be far, but we're slowly getting deeper and deeper. Good. Okay, from this position here, what we want to do is start to create tension. So my whole shin, I'm going to start to press that down into the floor. So we're going to do 10 seconds, not a hard one, just maybe 50%. We're going to press down into the floor. Here we go for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good. We're going to relax that leg, but we're still deep in that stretch here. Okay, maybe if you feel okay, you can go a little bit deeper. Think of trying to pull my belly button towards my knee. We're going to go a little bit deeper into that stretch. Find a good Good stretch into that hip. Find that breath. Good. From here, I'm going to kind of crawl myself back to a tall seated position. And now what I want to do is I want to kind of put one or maybe two hands onto that leg. So I want to pin it down to the floor. While I'm doing that, I'm going to start to lift my back leg. So sometimes what I'll do is I'll take my right hand and just put it out as a bit of a kind of kickstand to lean on. And we're just going to start to lift that left knee up and down, nice and slow. We want to get some movement into that hip. Okay, so it doesn't have to be, even if you're going kind of short ones, just up and down, whatever your hip's going to let it do. Now, sort of the easier, if you're finding it really tough, you need to make it a little bit easier, we can almost come down onto our elbow, and that'll be a little bit easier to move that hip back and forth. Okay, so this is sort of our level 1. If you want to go level 2 and try a little bit tougher, you can come up onto that hand where we started. And if you find that you want a little bit more of a challenge than that, you can come both hands onto that knee. I want you guys to sort of pick that level that you feel good with. And we're going to hang out here for a bit, just lifting that hip up and down. If you haven't done this one before, it might feel a little bit weird. That's okay. It's going to feel really good once we're done here. Just bringing that knee up and down. We're going to bring it up as high as we can, and we're going to hold it here. So I want you to think of really lifting that knee and pulling it back for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. Try to get really high with that. Sit tall for 3, 2, 1, and then bring it back down to the floor. Sort of relax there for a bit. Okay? What we're going to do here is we're going to switch sides. So in order to do that, I'm just going to bring my legs nice and straight. Okay? And then from here, I'm going to lean onto my left butt cheek, and I'm just going to start to bring my feet into that 90-90 position again. And we're going to do everything on the other side. Okay? So again, nice and tall. I want to rotate my body towards my left knee. And I want to think about keeping my back nice and straight as I bend forward, thinking of pulling that belly button forward. Okay, we want to sort of find that breath here. Big belly breath in. Relax that body, sort of using that breath to get even better stretch. And if you're comfortable sort of coming a little more forward each time, you can. Nice job, guys. Really focusing on our breathing here. Trying to relax everything. Good. Good. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to create that tension now. So we're going to start to press down through our shin and our foot and ankle. Okay, so staying in that stretch, let's press down for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Good. Relax everything, but stay in that stretch here. Good. Maybe we come a little bit deeper if your body's feeling okay. If not, that's okay as well. Just whatever your body's going to let you get to today. Big breath in. Focus on releasing all that tension. You sort of feel your body soften. Good. Okay, let's come up to a sort of tall position here. We're going to do that same thing with that back leg. So what we can do is come down onto our elbow to start. Okay, and we're just sort of lifting that back knee up and down. Okay, again, if you find that this is pretty easy, you can come up onto that hand. Okay, that's sort of our level 2. And if that's really easy, you can come up onto your hands on your front knee. I'm going to stay onto level 2 because my hip is a little tight today. Just sort of going up and down, getting some movement into that right side. Just sort of easing our way into it. probably notice one of your hips feels a little bit easier to move than the other. That's totally normal. This side for me is much tighter. That's okay, just need to work on it a little bit more. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna lift up and hold just like we did on that other side. So we're lifting, pulling that knee up for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We're gonna go up and down for 5 more reps, seeing if we can get just a touch higher than when we started. Good, looking great, guys. Okay, this is sort of a new one. So we're gonna start from this position, okay? So getting our legs sort of 90 degrees, our knees are bent, ankles are bent at 90. What we're gonna do is we're gonna come back onto our hands. So feeling like we're leaning back a little bit. And then all I'm gonna do is sort of like a windshield wiper. I'm just gonna like rotate my knees up to the ceiling. And then I'm gonna let my knees kind of switch over to the other side. We're just gonna go side to side here. It's called windshield wipers. Just sort of feeling our hips move a little bit here. Okay, we did a little bit of movement back and forth with those hips, and this one should sort of feel like we're good. Just nice and slow, sort of feeling everything loosen up a little bit as we move through our 90-90 windshield wipers. Looks great, guys. Now, if you want to make it a little more challenging, you can sit up a little taller, and that's going to be even tougher. Or if you are good sort of leaning back, we can stay there, depending how your body's feeling today. We're going to go 3 more times. Good, here's 2. And 3. Good. Okay, guys, let's get out of that pretzel position. Shake those legs out. If you want to grab a quick sip of water, you can. If you've got a water bottle nearby. And we're going to sort of get into, how's everyone doing? Give me a thumbs up if you're doing okay. Nice.
Never give up.
Never give up. I love it. Okay.
I got my best friend Lindsay.
Yeah. Nice.
She's my inspiration.
I love it. So let's kind of come into this one, I sort of have a pillow that I put under my knees. So we're going to kneel. I just sort of have this just to make it a little bit easier for my knee, but we're going to put our right knee down, left leg up, and we're going to come into our half kneeling sort of hip flexor stretch here. So you're going to be able to see my lower part of my body. Actually, I can probably come further back. There we go. Okay. What we want to think about doing here, guys, is we want to tuck that tailbone. So rather than letting our bum stick up, we want to tuck that tailbone underneath. And then we're going to press forward, feeling a good stretch into that hip flexor. Okay, what I like to do is hands on my hips just for balance. We're just going to rock back and forth, sort of find that good stretch. Again, we want to make sure we're kind of breathing through it. I want you to find that far stretch. I want you to come to the end of where your body's going to let you get to, and we're going to hold this stretch for a little bit. Okay, if you want to sort of test your balance and you feel comfortable doing that, what you can do is you can slowly start to reach up to the ceiling. You want to reach up as high as you can. Just focusing on our breathing. If you want, you can try closing your eyes. Just focusing on slow, deep belly breaths here. So big breath in. Maybe you press those hips a little more forward as you exhale. We're going to go 5 breaths here. Last 2. Good, last 1. Nice job, guys. Bring those hands back to the knee. We should have had a pretty good stretch there. So we're going to come out of that one. We're going to do a stretch for the front hamstring. So what I'm going to do is straighten that front leg. We want to have a soft bend in the knee. So we're not going to lock it out. Just sort of a soft bend, pull those toes back. And you're going to sort of reach forward And you're trying to bring your nose towards your toes. That's sort of where you're aiming for. Okay, we're getting a good stretch into the back of that leg. And again, we want to sort of find that breath here. Good, trying to relax. Good, last 2 breaths. Good, we're gonna slowly come out of that one. And again, we're gonna switch sides. So now, got my left knee down, my right leg is up. Okay, again, we wanna tuck that tailbone first, and then we're gonna go back and forth, sort of finding where that stretch is. And when you find that good stretch, we're gonna hold at the end. Good, make sure that core stays tight too. So keeping the ribs pulling down. And from here, if you feel good and you feel balanced, we're gonna reach up to the ceiling. We're gonna go for 5 deep breaths here, nice and slow. So big breath in. Trying to relax that body. Good, last one. Good, we're gonna slowly come out of that one. Again, we're gonna get into that front hamstring. So kind of straightening that front leg and then just reaching forward, trying to get a good stretch into that back of that front leg. Again, find your breath here. Nice, good job, guys. Just kind of slowing everything down. Good. Good. Last big breath in. Good. We're going to slowly come out of that stretch. And we're going to make our way into our final stretch of the day. We're going to do a butterfly. Okay, so this one, I'm going to bring the camera down a little bit so you can see me. Okay, this one we're going to go, so you're going to go feet together. Okay, our knees are going to be off to the side. Now, again, if our feet are further away, it's going to be a little bit easier. And if you want to keep challenging a little bit tougher, then you just kind of pull those toes in or pull those feet in. And you want to get yourself to a good stretch where you can sit nice and tall. Okay, and what we want to do is feel a good stretch through the inner thighs and the groin here. And we want to find our breath. Sometimes this stretch might be a little uncomfortable. I know for me, my knees are pretty high up, so I need to get a good stretch into here. So what we're going to do is we're going to sit nice and tall. And we're just going to find that breath. So making sure as we breathe in, we're breathing into our belly. And then relaxing. Good. What we're going to start to do is we're going to start to press down a little bit through our legs. Okay, so just relax. You can either put your hands on your knees or you can put your elbows on your knees. We want to slowly start to press down gently. And as you're pressing down, your knees are pressing back up into our hands. So we're going to hold this one for 10 seconds here. So press down for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We're going to lift those hands and we're going to try to pull our knees down like we're trying to pop a balloon under each of our knees. We're going to pull them down to the floor for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then we're just going to relax. We're going to take 5 good deep breaths. If you want, you can close your eyes here. And every exhale, maybe you kind of press down gently into those knees. Good, getting into that good stretch. 3 more breaths here. Last one. Good. Okay, we're gonna slowly bring your hands under your knees and just guide those knees back up. Before we kind of wrap up for today, guys, I think we usually do, not sure if Aaron's still here, but does anybody have any questions?
I am still here.
Awesome.
Hi, Aaron.
Hello,
Hey,
you guys
Aaron.
can unmute yourselves.